Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer. This is my Sunday chat, my chance to catch up with you in the last week of what's been going on. And to be honest with you, I didn't do one last week, so preoccupied with trying to get extra content out because we're in this COVID-19 lockdown situation. And I was very much aware that because we're in this situation, that more people have got time on their hands and they need more to watch and do. So I have been trying, where possible, to put out 2 videos a week. It's not been possible every day because you may remember I went out for a lovely bike ride fairly recently, which was quite popular, and I was enjoying filming some of the footage and also trying to film myself on the bike. It is difficult when you've got to hold the camera up here, and I appreciate some people were getting in touch rather worried that it was a bit dangerous. But unless you've got an arm or some sort of extension to the bike to hold the camera, which I don't, I've had to resort to that. Well, I went out early in the morning because I'm trying to go out when there's fewer people about and we're on lockdown. So it's, you know, just my only opportunity is in my exercise period to do anything. And clearly I went out without warming up my muscles enough, and I have since pulled the muscles in my back, and I've had a bit of a painful week, to be honest with you. But it is slowly getting better, and I'm trying to hold back by doing too much. However, so the bike rides were going down reasonably well, and people seemed to like them, which was rather good. And I was hoping to go a little bit further afield. Obviously, I can't go for miles and miles because that would be a bit naughty. But there are various places here that one can go and show better on a bike. I managed to get up to Old Sompting in one of the videos recently, the old village up Sompting, and took you round some very interesting buildings and this delightful old Twitten, which was up there.
Oh, right. This is curious. So I'm just taking a little diversion on this walk. Look at these lovely flints. Beautiful flint wall. Absolutely love it. We'll carry on down here. Look, here's an old doorway, look. I wonder how many people go up this lane. This is a real find.
After that, I got up to Escape on the Downs. There was a short walk up to St Mary's Church, and then there was this delightful track which took me out for the first time after quite some days to get out into the actual countryside.
And hear the crunch of the dead wood. And so far I've seen no one. Another sign up ahead, which is lovely to see. Oh, and we might be able to, there's an entrance into the farm where the horses are. Just have a quick look here. See if we can catch them. There they are, look. Electric fence. How marvellous. I'm not going to go and disturb them, but they do look very beautiful. And behind me, such an idyllic vision of England and the countryside on the hill that we're at. Look at that vista there.
With the problems with my back, however, it has contained me at the house. And so I thought it would be quite interesting to see if we could do some digital tech wizardry. And I managed to contact Kevin Hall, and together with him filming himself, me filming myself, and then a little bit of magical editing, we're able to put something together where I could ask him about his family, because they were very much into Woodland world and they worked in a sawmill.
I've just got one more thing to show you, Richard.
Yeah, please do.
And it's very heavy.
Oh, blimey, I can hear.
And that is an axe.
Oh, right.
Now, to wield that day in, day out, to cut the chestnut, where you cut it off down at a stump, you can imagine just what the guys had to go through. Now, my father ended up with an acutely bad back, where his back was worn out. Now, they used to use these for years until chainsaws came in.
Right.
And then that then obviously that took over and made life much easier. But if you can imagine using one of those axes
Yes.
to cut just half an acre of wood, but they use these things day in and day out.
When my back was really bad, I couldn't really go anywhere at all. In fact, there was one time when my whole mission was completely aborted, and it must have been the lamest video I'd ever made.
Because of my bad back, I've walked up from my house, and it's about a mile to get there, and my back is completely seized. I've just stopped, done some stretches, and tried to persevere as much as I could, but I've had to give up because, ouch, the pain is too much. So I'm going to slowly, like a snail, make my way back home.
Getting more and more desperate to try and go and show this wonderful country, England, has been difficult with the lockdown, as you'll appreciate. Well, I just took a little trip one day when I was able to walk a bit better, and I literally took a walk around the block, around my house and the block. And actually, it proved a very interesting video. People very much remembered the tunnel that I went down.
And this goes underneath the railway, but it's an old footpath, I believe. And as you can see, it's got a lot of paintings on the walls. I filmed down here before when I was pitching another pilot episode of something called, I'll leave the descriptions to these videos. As I say, this was called Oddball Eccentrics, and I was making a video about different oddballs from history who were very eccentric in the things they did. It never went anywhere in terms of a pitch, but people were impressed at the time. So, and it's been extended, I believe, that this was the first bit, and you can tell that because of this round entrance.
I have been to the parks in Worthing a few times over the years, but not necessarily in spring. And I decided it would be quite fun to go down to Homefield Park and have a look and see if I could identify as many of the trees in there as possible. I've made it a mission of mine to try and learn as many trees as I can, certainly the deciduous ones and certainly the ones that are out in the countryside. But in a park, not so easy because they obviously have a lot of ornamentals as well. But I did my best.
They're easy to identify. This is a London plane, and it's a hybrid of two different trees. And the great thing about London plane, which is what makes it so easy to identify, is the bark and how it has that that look as if it's camouflage, and the way it sort of comes off very easy. And they're trees that are very often used for lining avenues in towns, and they're good for avenues in towns because they survive all sorts of pollution.
One of the people that I've been reading, and I've done a lot of reading during this period where we can't go out anywhere, is Richard Jefferies. He was a naturalist, a conservationist. He was a chap who was in the 19th century and influenced a lot of other writers, including W.H. Hudson, Henry Williamson, and I think Edward Thomas, to talk about and write about the countryside. And his grave is in Worthing, in Broadwater Cemetery. So it was fascinating. I'd never been there before to see his grave. I'd been in the cemetery, but not to find his grave. So that became a bit of a quest, and I managed to get there, and I do believe I found it.
What I've come to see is this grave here, Richard Jefferies. It says at the front here, "To the honoured memory of the prose poet of England's fields and woodlands, John Richard Jefferies, who died at Goring, August the 14th, 1887, aged 38. And it must be one of the most visited graves, I would imagine, in this graveyard for those people who knew who he was. Looks like the daughter was buried there in 19 or some relation. I don't know who the others are, to be honest with you. That's showing my ignorance, isn't it? But there it is.
My car has been idle for nearly 3 weeks, and it isn't good to keep the car idle. Where I live, people are driving to the supermarket all the time. In fact, my road is so busy, it's no different, and this is truthful, no different than when we're not in lockdown, which seems crazy, but it's true. People are accessing the hospital, people are accessing Morrison's, and people are out in their cars. And I've seen all sorts of vehicles, camper vans. I haven't seen any caravans, lots of buses and bits and pieces. Well, I knew that I needed to take my car to go out and check on my father's house very briefly, and also I could make a video at the same time. Now, I know we're not supposed to go anywhere, it's only down the road, and of course, if we don't keep our cars turning over or moving, none of us, when it's time to go back to work, will be able to do it because the cars will have seized up. So I did take it very carefully, very early in the morning when nobody was about, and I made sure that I kept my distance from everybody. I know some people were a little upset about that, and people get very upset about all things, but we all share this planet and we've all got to live our own lives, and we all try as much as we can to fit in with the guidelines that the government have given us. And remember, they are guidelines, and to be honest, I'm adhering to them pretty well. So, you know, for those people that like to sort of pigeon the blame, there are plenty of others who are doing far worse. Anyway, on this trip, I went to check on my father's house, which I've been desperately trying to sell. The house is in Goring, down close to the seafront, and it's in an area that's very expensive now. And as I walked around, I'm just checking the rooms actually, as I walked around, I noticed there are, as ever there were, large cars parked on the drives, expensive cars. But this house must be one of the smallest bungalows, not the smallest, but one of, and sadly one of the shabbiest. My dad was never very outgoing and splashing money. He was very frugal. And I'm sure that after the crisis is over and the market comes back, we will be able to get that going. That will be handy. And whilst I was there, I took advantage to take a very short trip down to the coast there, along the beach, along the prom, to the Sea Lane Cafe, and just have a look at some wonderful trees.
Some fir, but an evergreen. I mean, not an evergreen, because they seem to have lost a lot of their leaves. Deciduous, I didn't know they did, but fantastic little walkway through all these trees. Somebody will know what they are and let me know, because I'm quite fascinated now. It's a very tranquil setting here. You can just go by these peculiar shaped, windswept, as I say, trees which at different times of the day and different lights give you a different feeling.
And here we are on the Saturday before the Sunday as I record this. It's Easter Sunday for you. So I hope you've all got your Easter eggs and that you've managed to source them from somewhere, that you're all safe, that you're washing your hands, that you're looking after yourselves, and that we're all trying to keep everybody safe, including ourselves. And all I can now say really is thank you so much for watching. Have the best Easter that you can have under the circumstances, and I will be out and about just as soon as my back is up and running again to bring you some more videos, and of course some more lives where I'm reading at the moment The English Journey by J.B. Priestley, and in the evenings on the Vobes Show channel I'm bringing you an hour's bit of entertainment in the evening to keep you occupied and have something to do. So thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, bye bye. Better go and edit it all now, hadn't I?